Well, it's been at least 2 weeks, but hopefully now I'm getting a little bit back on track. Let's just hope nothing else decides to explode, because things are really liking to explode right now, and I don't like it. But hey, we're still here. I'm still here. Still doing things. I'm going to finish this. I'm gonna finish a lot of things I'm working on right now. I'm at least setting my mind to something and trying to finish them, so here's hoping. Without further ado, welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm your host, Isaac MCCanary. I've been a busy little bee. Yesterday was a bit of a nightmare, but I'm here. And that's what matters. We're going to continue working on this. I need to start the next part. The next part of my animation. And the hard part about that is going to be the fact that I need to now transition to a different pose. That'll be fun. The walking onto screen actually was pretty long, but I think that the next one is just going to be, like, a lot shorter. The next few motions are going to be a lot shorter, hopefully, and then walking off screen will be a very long portion of the animation, but that's not till the end, and we're going straight forward because that's how I have to do my work. So welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm your host, Isaac MCCanary. We're back to animating. I just don't remember if I said that. Remember if I said that? You're going to start off by adding a reference picture. Because, if I remember correctly, yeah. Yeah. I have that one there as a example of what I wanted to get to. So now we have this all the way here. I need to add a reference. This is why, as far as projects go, this is something that I have gotten better at. I'm doing much better at planning these projects out. Sure, I think first and foremost, my primary modus of anything is just start working on anything, but I am getting a better structure to the actual work that I'm doing. So that is that, and now we have frame 3. What's funny is I don't did it, oh wait. So really, hold on. I don't know if I need to add this, but we'll see. Yeah, add you. Yeah, add you. Let me add you. Why are you not? Why ain't you? How did I add this before? I somehow got this layer on here. Just don't know how. Unlocked. If I add that. On there. Import. Here we go. Import to stage. Try this. We're gonna do frame 2. Open. Yes. Why are you so big? What? Wait, excuse me? Huh? How did it... Wait a second. What the fuck? I didn't. But it is. It is helpful. It is helpful. This is surprisingly. This is helpful, but how did I do this? How did it? I went to bring in one, and it brought in all three. I don't know what I did. Let me reposition you. Why can I resize you? Go. That was odd. This is the part that's tripping me up, is... No. How did it know to do that? It's freaking me out a little bit. There. Is gonna do interface thing. A bit bigger. There we go. That's weird. I don't know why it was doing that, but that's what I want. I want this here. Ish. Given rotation. Okay. Oops. Okay, we got that right. Now, we go back here. Put you here. Why did you do frame? That was odd. That was not working as intended. No, I want that there. You want this. No. Blank keyframe. In frame. Yes. Gonna have to do this way. It doesn't make sense to me, but we're gonna have to do it this way. There we go. We want to start by drawing this frame. This will be fun. This will be fun. It'll be fine. Trying to get that really clean look going on. Like that. This is why the sketching is nice, and this might be something I'm gonna have to do more in Fresco, is like literally just be like, okay, these are my test frames. and just like really roughly sketch them in now. That might be something I might try more. Because as far as I know, there's not really a sketch mode. Animate is not good at sketching. Animate is good at animating, and it's good at illustrating. It's actually fantastic at illustrating. Sketch mode, however, doesn't seem to really be a thing. And I would be better off, better served, probably practicing and testing out my like sketchiness and then using animate to clean it up. But using the sketchiness in Fresco to get my start on a lot of the like basic movements and stuff. That might be something that I might have to test at some point. Obviously not right now. I'm too far. I'm too far into this project. I can't really start it now. Too late for that. Kind of like how round I made her eyes. They look good. Perfect. Like that. Again, this is all just recommendation. This is all just suggestion on my part. Ultimately, this will not be that many frames, honestly. Kind of like how it just be... There'll be like probably 3 or 4 frames. This part's going to be really fast. I've also been doing a little bit more reading up. I need to get back to reading the Animator's Survival Kit. But I was doing a little bit of coverage for um guy from Extra Credit, New Frame Plus. He has a series on the fundamental aspects of animation and their implications and their usages in video games and how they are similar and different. Unsurprisingly, maybe a lot more similar than different, but still have some niche cases in which animation in video games is a little bit different than traditional hand-drawn animation. But he has a good series on the fundamentals, and one of the things that always sticks out to me is less like, wow, I never thought to think of it that way, though it does help. And I think researching any given aspect of something that you're trying to learn or study or practice or whatever, when you're picking up information on that kind of thing, is to like be like, wow, I'm glad I was already kind of getting that. Actually, that's something that has always stuck with me with illustration and animation is the principles are something that have always really clicked with me. Actually, they've really stuck in my head, and it's just being able to apply them is what I'm trying to practice now. Because the fundament, like the core logic behind it, is something that I actually really understand, that I gel with, that I can get information out of. So, that's kind of a problem. That's interesting. Wait, no, that is working as intended. We're good. That's weird, but it's working. Because I need to make sure, essentially, any motion in the neck. Yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. That's what it's done. I, I know what I'm saying, man. I don't know how I know to do certain things. Like, I'm not saying it comes as naturally as breathing, but I do have at least some kind of mind's eye for this, and I want to actually do something with that. I think I'm able to do something that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. I want to share it. I feel like being able to start doing animation in this way, like I've seen a lot of YouTube animators and everything, and the thing that really helps me with streaming my animation is it keeps me actually accountable to do the goddamn work. So I'm like, maybe I need to start doing video editing live or whatever because it keeps me it it makes me not worry about, oh, I could have been spending that time streaming or whatever. It helps to document my process and helps to document how I get my work done and kind of person I am for that matter. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to understand that formality is great. I'm not saying I can't be a formal person. In fact, I would still argue that to this day I try to uphold a sense of formality that I don't even know is a standard anymore. But I still like saying fuck. That'll never change. I still like being a goober. Always. Always be that kind of person. But it does help really document like what it looks like as somebody who has limited knowledge and expertise and practice in the field, what it looks like to develop that skill, which might be helpful for people out there if you're trying to learn how to animate, illustrate, whatever. Like, I would like to use this as an opportunity for anybody else out there who is aspiring to make really anything to know what it looks like to develop a process, to develop a practice. Because that's what a lot of developing anything is just developing your process, developing how you do anything, your procedures, your the things that work, the things that don't. If something that works for me is something that clicks with you, that's a good thing. And not everything's going to work with everyone. Everybody has different processes. That said, apparently I need to use digital a little bit more flexibly. Apparently I actually have a major problem with digital art in that I'm so stuck in kind of traditional physical medium that I don't use the advantages of digital enough. I don't use the medium to its fullest strength sometimes. And that's difficult. That's difficult for me to kind of like deal with sometimes. Why'd you do that? There, there. That's weird. Oh, I missed the line. But hey, I'm getting better at it. One of the big oh no, wrong layer. One of the big things. Also, I need to remember. We lock. Bro, we lock. We lock that. The reason why it was unlocked is I had to add to it. Yeah, that looks good. I will say one of the things I've gotten much, much better at is my time illustrating. I feel like I used to take forever to do certain things, and now I do them very, very quickly, which is a good thing. That's a good thing to be able to do. It's a good thing to be able to do things quickly, especially when it comes to like illustration, animation for certain, because there's so much you have to do. There's so much you have to do. So now that we have our second frame drawn, the nice thing is I've given myself a lot of space, and I think I'm just gonna go straight to twos. I think I'm just gonna go straight to twos. and just draw as many 2s straight ahead as it will take to get to that. Shouldn't take long. It's probably like 4 or 5 frames, like 4 or 5 hand drawn frames tops. Like it's not going to be a lot. It's not going to be a lot. Need to do. Nope. Other direction. Yes, we need to do that now. And now, this, right? We do that. The reason why we do that is I put that in the wrong spot. Sometimes I think I understand how this fucking program works, and honestly, I still don't. I still don't. I try, but I still don't. Now, yeah, right? We now have to just go straight ahead. Like I said, I think it's going to be like 3 or 4 frames tops. It's not that much movement. Probably a decent amount of movement. So this needs to stay there. This is something I need to learn a little bit better, is how things lag behind, right? So if the motion is starting up here, then this actually needs to stay down here. So what we need to do, have it be more like that, right? Because the motion is starting up here and ripples out down here. Ooh, no. That. Something like that. And I'm really thinking about that now. We're not tweeting, we're actually stepping forward. I'm trying something a little risky here, where essentially I'm like, do I need to tween? I don't think so. Because if I think about it, I'm like, this is not that many frames. It's not a very long, like, this is just turning. Turning is not going to take a whole second. It's not even going to take a whole second. It's going to even take half a second. So I'm going to try to do 3 or 4 frames and just work with that from there. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Only one way to find out when it comes to stuff like this. And this is something that I feel like I've just generally gotten better at, honestly, is being able to make these connections, certain things, keep it consistent. Stay there. And then this, again, we have it holding there. It's going to start moving, but it's going to lag behind. This right here doesn't move until probably the next frame. Because the motion starts actually up here. This is where the motion is starting. Oh no, 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 don't undo my work. Yay. Bad hand. Bad hand, why did you do? It'll start moving together. Oh god. And this is something I've, like, it's not bad animation. It's just animation I don't want to do. It's animation that I see being more popular that makes me go, I want to show people that the animation that I want to do is hand-drawn, even if it isn't efficient. Even if it isn't efficient. There is a lot of tween animation that exists now. There's a ton of it. And it's popular. I don't want to do tween animation. I've tried. What's funny is I grew up doing tween animation. A decent amount of tween animation. In PowerPoint and stuff, you know? Like, PowerPoint is where I got my start animating with tween animation. But for whatever reason, as I've started trying to develop my process, trying to do tween animation does not work with my style. I cannot do it. I can't. Or at least it does not look good. The tween animation I do is not very effective from my style and perspective. That. Start moving you. Thing. Now this is going to be interesting. I'm going to have to be moving the nose this way. Because the nose is going to have a lot of motion, actually. And that's something I need to preserve, because it's going to anchor wherever are in the image. It'll be hugely important for me to keep that consistent. Same with the lip. Gonna move down that way. One of the things I'm probably going to have to struggle with a little bit is keeping consistent sizes. That's gonna fuck with me. That's gonna mess with me, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to deal with some warping, and one of the biggest challenges I'm gonna have to overcome is how to cut down on polish. The irony is I've found that the best way that I polish is to not go back. Like, if I can get it early on, that's ideal. Not to say that I can always do that. I can't always do that. Difficult. But if I can do that, I should. Fix. Might fix some hair stuff. We'll see. Actually, no. I'm gonna have to figure that out. We're gonna stay consistent. We're gonna work with what I got. That's another thing, is like sometimes you just gotta work with what you got. Just gotta work with what you got. You gotta do what you got. Moments like this where I can kind of polish up. Because again, I don't know why. I have to do hand drawn. I grew up with hand drawn animation from a media standpoint. Like from a media consumption standpoint, I grew up with hand drawn animation. I was interested in hand drawn animation, but didn't have the confidence to do it myself for a long, long time. But I always was interested in it, and I found that once I finally started doing it, once I did hand drawn animation, I went, this is what I have to do. What I have to do to make my animation look good. Frustrating, because probably could make it a lot easier. I probably could make it 8,000 times easier for me if I didn't have to hand draw every freaking frame of every animation I did. Be nice. Especially as somebody who's a big contour line art guy. Like, it's work. It's so much work to do animation, guys. Why is it guys suck so bad? Much motion there. Start dragging. Keep my axis of pivot consistent. The translation of motion is going to be a lot actually through the hair. That's where a lot of my translation of motion is going to appear. Actually, the hair more than anything else. This is why you need to get a TA to do all of your fixing. Just get a guy to be like, okay, now what you do is you look at every single drawing I did and you clean. You clean the drawing. This is why you need to hire a man to do that. So that way you can focus on important part, which is moving. You don't have to worry about part where it look dirty as long as it move, because you have guy that will do move for you. But I don't have luxury. I have to do all. Back. It's the hard part of animation. Oh, it's fine. I'll let him know later. I was like, oh no, I forgot to tell my friends. This is not gonna make sense is the problem. Oh, if I'm holding control... like that. I just have to let it do its thing and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, you fix it. That's the other thing is, if it doesn't work, change it. You have to do it differently. You can't just be like, well, this is the best I could do. Well, if I'm not happy with it, I gotta do something different with it, because I'll not be happy with it. And that's not a solution either. You should never settle for something just because you went, well, it's not ideal, but it works. If you can do something about it. Oh, I forgot a button. Now, to be fair, you can't always do something about anything sometimes, but never take anything lying down. Never take anything lying down. I think the ponytail is going to be the most important thing here. Again, it's going to have most of the motion. I want to start it moving. That. And another thing that I've just gotten much better at, like just something that I'm proud of, is like every time I've come back to them, I feel like I've improved the process fundamentally in a way that allows me to tackle things that I struggled with before with a better understanding of what I did wrong. What I did wrong to try to eliminate those problems the next pass around. It does mean I'll have to go back and fix those parts, but it does mean that for these parts that I'm working on now, I can get them right the first go around because I fucked them up already. I've already fucked them up and learned. The, the real trick is how to mitigate how much you need to fix and to utilize the processes that you learned early in your production to prevent problems later in production. That is something that I try to really embody, is like, I'll do something that'll work at the moment and then learn, okay, what worked best, what didn't work, and then try to adjust it to be better when I do something similar or the same thing for the next part. That's something that I personally feel very confident at doing. Like, it's something that I do well. That. That. Oh, this eyebrow motion is actually going to be really funny. I'm liking what my eyebrows are, what her eyebrows are doing. Listen, it's not a secret. I relate to a lot of female characters. It's almost like I relate to a character because I like them as a person, regardless of their gender. Eh. I've made masculine and feminine versions of me. They exist. Woo. I think everyone should, especially if you're an artist. Like, use your interests to figure out your brain. You'll be healthier for it, or at least I feel like I have improved as a person. You certainly will be less of an asshole to other people, I feel like. You'll be less judgmental, I think. Maybe. I don't know. People weren't so afraid of the parts of themselves that don't fit with their image of themselves, if people learned how to be more comfortable with that, maybe people would actually not be such dickheads to each other. Because how often, if I think about it, have maybe even I been a little bit abrasive because something someone did was something that I myself have seen me do. Or how often is it sometimes just seeing somebody do something that I want to do? I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think that's a tough one to figure out for anyone, including me. So I'm not an expert on that. I think everybody's figuring themselves out at all times. Always remember, try to be responsible and figure yourself out safely with hopefully with support for yourself, and remember other people are there to support you. Yes. Hard to figure your brain out. The human brain sucks. Very bad at doing things. I would know that. My human brain decided to shut off yesterday. It was very weird. I would have streamed yesterday. We probably would be doing Gartic Phone today had my brain just decided to not hit the nuclear launch codes inside of my skull, which was weird, by the way. I do not know why they did that. But hey, it happens. Ahoy, Aqua! Ah, well, tell your husband that he could eat it because it's his bug now. Tell him to eat his bug. It's his now, whether he likes it or not. Well, that's a him problem. I like bugs. I love bugs. I love bugs, and my brain doesn't hurt today. I'm so happy that it doesn't hurt today. I still do not know. I don't know, man. The human body is a wondrous, awful box of nothing sometimes. You have a small headache. You're drinking water, and you just say, I also did. I had some kimbap. Drink some water. Yeah. Well, I hope it gets better too. It gets better too. Headaches are no joke, man. I I mean, yesterday I had maybe one of the most debilitating headaches I've ever experienced in my life. I'm not a headache person. Like, I just usually do not get them. That is not an experience I have to contend with. And that's not like that's me saying I'm glad that 90% of the time my brain doesn't actually physically harm me. But yesterday was bad. It was really bad. I was at work. It was the morning, and on the way to work, the first sign that maybe something wasn't going so hot inside of my skull was I didn't have any pain, but I noticed I was looking and I was like, what the fuck? Why can't I see part of the car in front of me in a part of my vision that I should be able to see? I was like, that's not good. Why am I missing like 5 to 10% of my vision right now? My right eye. And I was like, Oh God, that's bad. So I very stressfully drove to work, being like, "This is not good." And then eventually was working pretty miserable, stressed out about the fact that my vision was still fucked up. My vision did slowly come back. And then the headache started. This headache was so bad, I thought I was gonna barf at least 3 times. The only way for me to have it not suck was to hold completely still. And I ended up having to be like, I have to go home. And I went home and had a very stressful drive on the way home as I was in immeasurable amounts of agony, and then got home, lied down, and maybe for one of the first times in a long time, passed out. I just passed out. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I took a nap. No, I lied down and my body stopped functioning. Like, ugh. So, the good thing is I'm still at the part of my life that I seemingly can have stuff like that happen. Because if I really think about it, I'm like, I've had stuff like that happen, but I usually can just sleep it off, luckily. Like that. Like, I usually can just take a power nap and I'll be fine. And I was, honestly. Like, I still had a little bit of a lingering headache, but it was. I was like, my brain doesn't feel like I'm going to explode anymore, so I guess that's good. So yeah, like that's what my day was like yesterday. That's why unfortunately we did not do this yesterday. Otherwise I would have worked on this yesterday. Still a little bummed out about that, honestly. Like I was looking forward to doing more animation. I really was. This is advanced tweeting. Huh. I didn't drop. Something like that. Missing anything? She doesn't smile. I want to make it clear that she doesn't smile during this. She's here to celebrate, but that doesn't mean she has to smile. So yeah, I'm just glad I'm not dead. I'm just glad that I'm not dead. Like really though, like there's moments like that where I'm like, was I close? I felt close. Felt like I was close. A lot closer than I wanted to be. That's for damn sure. It was. It was alarming. It was alarming, certainly. That's working, yeah. Yeah! You can see the rotation! Wouldn't have thought rotation would have been that difficult to do, but here we are. Here we are. What I might add a blink in there too, just to be like, I don't know. I like blinking. I like blinking as an animation. Helps add texture. As soon as the eye is like settled in place. Almost is. Good look. A good look. It's a really good look. Like that. And for me again, like for me, the best animation is not complicated. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep it simple, especially if you're learning. Don't do something complicated for your first time. Keep the shapes simple. Keep them something that you can manipulate. Manipulate very easily. I really wanted to say malleable. I want the manipulate verb of malleable. I think that's probably just manipulate. I don't think that word exists. Probably not. I don't know. Up here, down here. And I need to be better at eliminating my artifacts as soon as I make them because I have a bad like I said, I had a when I first started I had a bad habit of like doing like this and then come back through and getting a bunch of artifacts. Like that was something that I did really poorly. That when you're in this part, even if it's too soon, it might be too soon for me to be doing this. When I'm at this stage of the animation, I gotta put the line where I want it. And if I have to fix it, I have to completely fix it. I cannot just sloppily erase something and draw over it. I have to at least do it precisely. Difficult. Well, I'm glad I have steady hands. I've been told I have very steady hands. Feel like I don't have very steady hands sometimes, but I will take it. Kind of makes sense what I'm doing. It makes some sense. I see what has happened. I just hope it translates. Translation is kind of the hardest part of animation, at least to me. It's like making sure that everything moves the way that it's really supposed to. Really easy to mess up that part, I feel like. Oops. There we go. Just another thing I want to get better at is just like letting it be the way that it's gonna be for my style. Not worry about, oh, did I draw it correctly or whatever. Who cares? Wibble vision exists. Let it be a little wibbly. It doesn't have to move perfect. It doesn't have to move perfect if it moves at all. That's really what I need to remember for myself is if it's moving, then I did it correctly. If it moves, then it's good. I did it right. Animation is about motion. That's what matters. That looked really funny. That might be it. I might do one more frame, but yeah. I need a couple more frames for the hair, but the turn is good. The turn is really good. Holy shit. That turn is really funny. It's a magic trick, man. Animation is a magic trick. It's a beautiful magic trick. The fact that human beings figured out this magic trick astounds me. Astounds me that we were able to figure this out. Because it's magic. Like, look at this and tell me that it isn't a magic trick. That's really funny. Good. It looks good. It's really funny. Really good. Now we're gonna keep going. I think it's pretty much in position. Now I just need to do the secondary motion. Nope, want that. It's this part. Gotta know where to undo. Gotta know where to undo. Really, the secondary motion is going to be in that ponytail, and it's probably going to be one more frame. Get the arc right. Gotta get the arc right. Arcs is something else that I understand them and implicitly have been following them. Like, an arc of motion is like a pendulum. You want to think of everything as like a pendulum. And they always, when you have something that is a certain length, right? You have something that's a certain length, and it moves. Let's say this is the joint of motion, and it moves this direction. Then it spatially has to move on that same axis and keep that same shape all the way through. It doesn't move this way, it doesn't move like this, it moves in an arc. In an arc around it. Everything moves on a pendulum. Not everything, but a lot of things move on a pendulum. The pendulum motion is how things naturally move. Because things are rigid, usually. They're rigid, but they're flexible. It's really complicated because parts are weird, but like standard-wise, most things move on an axis of motion. Most things move on an axis. They do not move from point. They don't slide from point A to point B if there is a conjoining point here that restricts their motion. Like, this is two different points. To get to that point, this object has to go around in a way that retains that length. And in order to do that, that creates an arc. If I can do this right. This is not a very good arc. And I mean, I feel like that makes sense, right? Like, things don't move from point A to point B just by a linear fashion. Your arm did. Imagine if your arm did that. Imagine if you have your arm. You can't see me do this. I'm demonstrating it to myself. You have your arm. Hold your arm up. Hold your right arm up at a right angle. Now imagine, like, try to even like physically move it. Like, if you were to straighten out your arm, it doesn't. If you have your hand up 90 degrees and you move it, it doesn't tween at a right angle. It arcs out. Because your arm, your forearm, is a solid object. You can't retract it. You can't retract it. And ironically, if you have your hand and you want to move your hand in a straight line, let's say you move it straight back to you, the arc is in your elbow now. So because you have, when your arm moves back along a straight parallel line, the elbow has to make up that space. And obviously, it's like, I feel like that's just like physics, right? You like think about that, you're like, yeah, of course that makes sense. But that's the hard thing with animation is sometimes it's easy to forget that those fundamentals exist because somebody had to go, that's why it didn't look right. Somebody had to look at that and say, oh, of course, when your arm moves, when your hand moves, it moves in conjunction to the rest of your arm. It doesn't just move from point A to point B in a straight line. It actually moves it in a curved motion, because that is just exactly how it works. That was a revelation to somebody. Why, it is now a fundamental. I mean, it's part of the reason why I probably like animation, is so much of animation really conceptualizes physical motion in a way that the best animation is a combination of realistic and unrealistic motion. Or rather, realistic motion that you see every day and hypothesized motion that you would never see in your life. That still matches what your brain can understand as realistic motion. There is an animation that I am now obsessed with from Patlabor that I think is one of the best examples of this in anything I've seen. There is a moment in Patlabor where you, at the very beginning of the movie of Patlabor 1, specifically, there are paratroopers coming out of the back of a plane in this setting, and the paratroopers are like giant mechs. They're paratrooper mechs. They're shooting out of the back of this plane. And in order to shoot out of the back of the plane, they have parachutes, which is very silly. It's very silly when you think about it. It's like, a robot needs a parachute. But there is an animation in which, to sell the size of these mechs, which are still big, they're not huge, but they're still big, they have a cable, they have a parachute cable that uncoils out the back. And there's just this moment, it's one animation that happens of the cable jettisoning, sorry, English is my first language, shooting out. I'm just gonna say shooting out because I can't say jettisoning. That's not a word. Jettisons. A cable jettisons out of the back of one of these planes, and it uncoils in such a way that just clicks in my brain as it is big. It's not just a regular parachute cable. This is a big parachute. And it has to do with the scale and the force in which it shoots out of the back, because larger things happen at greater... The more mass you have to do something of a similar action requires more force, and there is more force placed into that animation for it. And it looks phenomenal. It blows my mind every time I see it. I don't know why. I have this impression that every animator who gets an animation sees an animation that maybe to the layman is like, yeah, it's a guy moving. That we're just like, no, you don't get it. You don't understand what it took. The thought process to get that motion to happen must have been arduous. And for me, that parachute cable is like the thesis of how to make something move at a greater mass than you are used to seeing. That's why I have such a focus on mech and robots, is I get actually hyper annoyed when mechs don't have weight to them. I don't like it. I like weight. I like mass. I like when things have mass. I like when they feel like they have mass. And to preserve mass like that is to understand that motions happen in a very specific way, even if they are comparable to our size, like our proportions, they still happen in a tangibly different way based on timings, based on presence, based on just the effort it takes for it to happen. That is something that I really, 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 really enjoy seeing when it is pulled off, is understanding that when you have something bigger, it doesn't just move. It doesn't just move like it would if it was the same size but smaller. There is more that goes into animating something large than just it moves, but it also big. There is a sense of weight that is captured when larger objects are animated in motion. That's something I really enjoy and something I really want to be able to actually like do at some point, is be able to animate scale and mass. I think it is oftentimes that I don't see much of a medium between something that is dexterous, that clearly has dexterity, but also has weight behind it. I feel like there is a lot of a lack in modern games, especially. At least for me. Like, I feel like I've seen it a couple times and I appreciate whenever it does, but it still is not the norm, especially when it comes to designing mecha. Is to make something that feels like it has weight behind it without making it feel slow. For me, a lot of what provides a sense of weight is not how slow it moves, though that can be an element. It is also the momentum behind it. It's the accelerations. There's a lot more acceleration the larger you get. So if you want something to go fast, you still have to accelerate up to it. You still have to, it takes longer to get to that point. But it doesn't mean that it's slow. It does not mean that it's slow. It means that there's more spacing, or more spacing. Yes, more spacing in between when it's starting and less spacing in between when it starts its full velocity. There is more acceleration. And that would be something that I would love to capture that. Someday. Someday. Maybe. So as long as I don't explode, I'll try. Plus, I just like talking about this stuff. I like talking about a lot of things. I will admit though, I kind of want to vent a little bit because I think this is something that I understand. I get it. Like, every single person who does something online deals with this. How many times have I seen Mr. Psycho Ghost? Hi, Mike. Mr. Psycho Ghost, or anyone, make mention of their, whether it is a joke or not, their kind of apprehension about the comments. It is still something that I think I struggle with because there is a part of me that has felt this way for a large portion of their life that, to a certain extent, I get the impression that I just need to ignore it, obviously. Everyone just needs to ignore it. Just ignore it. Like, there's a certain point where you know where you get your criticism from, you know the criticism that helps you, anybody else can shove it. But there's a part of me that's like, I want people to rely on me. I want people to rely on me and to be able to be like, oh, I never thought to do that. Oh, I never thought to try that. But 9 times out of 10, well, no, that's not true. I have a lot of positive perception to something. I actually have a point of comparison for this, and I want to talk about it because it only bugs me because it's more of something that I'm trying to process and figure out, and obviously, like, ultimately be like, it's the internet. People are always going to be that way. There's nothing I can do about it, and those people can just yell about whatever they want. They're never going to be happy with anything that I or anyone does. They're never going to be happy with that. What doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. And the point of comparison I want to bring up is recently I made a short of me doing a fun combo in Monster Hunter. And I've had positive reception of it. But the only people who are saying anything about it are there's one person who tried to tell me, and it's even better if you do this, as though if I didn't know it existed, and no, actually, I even went in and did the math and tried it, and I was like, actually, no. The way I was playing would not work. It would not work. There is a combo for the gun lance in which I have found a fun combo for specifically wide shelling that benefits from charge shots more than it does from regular shots. The thing that I don't think people know when they were watching me play is there's a new combo for the gun lance in which you do the wide sweep and then you shoot a cluster of all of your shots and then put in a wyvern stake and then you do it again. You reload and you do it again. It's a cool move. It is a cool move. I'm not here to debate that it is not a cool move. However, it is a situational move. It is not a move that I can spam, and frankly speaking, doing a little math in the training room was not that much more damage. Because what I have been doing is I will do the full attack combo, and then I'll charge the shells for wide shot. And wide shot only has 2 shots and has a stronger shell for them. Because charging does like a scaling. It like doubles the damage. And they already do a base damage that is higher than the regular shell size. So they are going to scale better with charging than normal or long shots will. With that in mind, I found a combo chain. In which I could do that feasibly infinitely as long as I was in position. That's it. That's all I was trying to demonstrate in a cool topple that I got out of it. Because I could consistently keep that damage up and keep that damage out. Because higher tier play of Monster Hunter is not about spamming the strongest combo all the time, though that's an element of it. It's also finding the combos that consistently deal damage to give you openings to get those consistent combos out as well. Especially for my playstyle, because I've seen people spam the strongest move for every weapon forever and seemingly never have a problem, and I've tried that, and guess what? It doesn't work for me. It does not work. My playstyle don't work for it. I can't get it to consistently work. My positioning is always bad. My timing is always bad. It's just not something I'm good at. Not. Whereas this combo, I can interrupt it easier, I can be ready to block easier, I can reposition easier, and I can get in more hits easier. And the 2 comments I got are, you could have done an attack that I didn't do intentionally, or just blatantly somebody saying, what combo? A combo chain. You know, that funny little thing that was introduced in Monster Hunter after a certain point, in which you can just keep doing attacks in a row to keep up damage output. And that's where I'm at, is like, I see that, and I'm like, other people get it. Other people got it. They didn't need to say anything. They didn't need to do anything. They didn't need to respond to this. They saw that I did something and went, oh, okay. Like, move on. And I have to remember, there's gonna be people out there who are always gonna assume that you don't know what you're doing, no matter what. And I have to remind myself, that can matter. They don't. You don't. I'm sorry. You don't. I know what I'm doing. And if I don't know what I'm doing, I'll make it clear. Or I know the people I can go to explain something to me. You're just somebody I don't know. No one is required to listen to you. No one's required to listen to me. This applies to me too. That's why I don't comment. Or if I do comment, it's never something serious or important. Or if it is something serious and important, I don't know, I really try to think about it really hard. You know? Like I don't make a comment unless I don't care, or if I do care, that I've thought about it a lot. You know? But I'm a fire and forget kind of guy after a certain point when it comes to comments on the internet. Because reality, yeah, we're gonna do what they're gonna do. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your opinion. Nobody cares about what you think. Doesn't matter what you do. You're always wrong. On the internet, you're always wrong. I always have to remember that is whilst what I do, and I can actually relate to this from a character I learned recently, is a lot of what I do is to like prove like, hey, this is a valid thing that's happened to me. This is my like personal experiences on certain things. I'm to a certain extent, I'm always gonna be wrong. I'm always gonna be wrong. I'll never be correct. Because in someone's eyes, they can look at it from their own perspective and see, well, this is what you were doing wrong. Because unfortunately, it seems that people don't always remember that you can't see everything. No one is perfectly omniscient and knows what they're doing, even in the moment. I'm constantly learning shit all the time. All that I ask is that people trust that I can figure it out. I think a lot of people feel that way. It's a bit of a struggle. It's a bit of a never-ending struggle. Because I think there's two things that I've kind of run into that one was informed based on actually something that Sean said that was like, that's a fair point. I never thought of it that way, which is the idea that oftentimes a comment is not meant for you, it's meant for other people. Fair enough. Maybe that guy, maybe I should remember, maybe some people don't know that there's a combo in there. And I didn't show it. I didn't show the combo. Fair enough. You know, maybe he was just trying to remind people like there's also another combo that you can do. Fair enough. I still think that when you use the verbiage of and it's better, it's like, well, no, it's not. You know, try to use some. I would like to believe if I was to voice any kind of opinion on voicing any opinion on the internet, is remember to try to keep in perspective that there's no such thing as better. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. There's no such thing as better. You don't like that, you don't have an argument against me. Because I look at everything as just different. It's just different ways to do things. My way is different than your way is then different than another person's way. And as long as it works, doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It actually does not matter. I don't care how other people do things. If you love that gun lance combo, which I also love that gun lance combo when I could pull it off in the right conditions, then fair. I think it is this dissonance of me running into time and time again of this feeling that I need to be told what to do or be told that I'm doing something wrong. I've been told I've been doing something wrong my entire life. You want to know what the only way to respond to that after a certain point is to just not fucking listen anymore. It's not. And I think that's fair because those people aren't going to listen to anyone. They certainly aren't going to listen to me. I know they never do. Well, that's not 100% true. I've actually had some positive interactions with that. 9 times out of 10, I have to assume they're not going to fucking listen. Because if they were going to say something like that, they weren't looking for a discussion. They weren't. At least I don't think they were. My experience, those people are not looking for a discussion. I have been in too many conversations of trying to explain something that I understand, that I know I understand, and being told that it is just my opinion. Everything is someone's opinion then. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Yay! I love nihilism. I don't actually. Like, don't even get me started on that. At one point I was like, maybe I am a little nihilistic, but I don't even think I'm nihilistic. I think shit does matter. Shit matters to me. Shit matters to me all the time. Is it always important? No. Important things don't have to be important to matter. A lot of things are not important. View it as a lot of things are not important. A lot of things are actually not important. If you care about them, they matter. Nothing's important, though. In a grander scheme thing, that's not me saying, oh, we should just let it all burn. Exactly. That's no. I want to see things get better. I always want to see things get better. If I could do something to improve things, even, I will always be a proponent of both saying, hey, you should be trying to make things better, and if I can make something better, I fucking will. I'll try anyways. No guarantees, of course. Nobody's great at everything. Case in point, me. I'm bad at a lot of things. But I still try. Being bad at something, too, is not a reason to not do something. Some of my favorite experiences have been on the back of doing something that I was not very good at. Guess what? I learned something, and oftentimes got better at it. And my animation. I thought I was gonna suck at it. And I did suck at it. I've had moments where I tried to animate, and I just didn't do it. It just didn't work. Eh, still here. Still tried. Guess what? Glad I did. If I had never tried, I would not be doing this. If I never tried, I wouldn't be streaming anything. I wouldn't have times in Monster Hunter World, even though they are kind of irrelevant now. They're still my times, and I'm proud of them. I want to be able to, for those who can enjoy, who can be entertained by it, who can glean information that maybe they didn't know, I still want to be I want to be a vassal. I want to be a avenue for stuff like that. Because there are people I respect who are that for me. And I don't think I'll ever be like a tips and tricks guy. No, not at all. But I do want to show that I have a level of expertise and that you can ask me questions. You can always ask me questions about anything, and I'll do one of two things: give you an answer I know, or say I don't know, and I can find one. That is also something I've gotten very good at. Is finding answers. Finding answers is something I know I can do. Me not knowing something, much like anyone, because I would never hold this against anyone, is if you don't know something, it doesn't mean you're stupid. And it doesn't mean you're dumb, and it doesn't mean that you should have known the entire time. You know, I do think that it is on oneself to try to keep their brain, keep their mind as nourished as possible. I do think that is a personal activity that is the individual's responsibility. However, you also have to remember that not everyone knows everything. Everyone is discovering things at different times, in different ways, at different parts of their lives. Never hold that against anyone. Never hold it against anyone when they learn something, even if it's something as mundane as simple words or phrases, interactions. Everybody's got to learn it eventually. Especially if you don't know why they might not know. There's a high chance that there's a reason why somebody doesn't know something. That seems like it should be common knowledge. Patient point me. Genuinely. I've grown up very recluse. Everyone is at least slightly responsible for themselves when stuff like that happens. But it certainly would have helped if more people would have been more receptive. And I'm here to always make that a point, actually, is if I do something that you've never seen, or I do something that you didn't think to do, it's because I tried it because nobody thought to try it. Because I had to learn that skill on my own. Because God knows nobody was going to teach me anything after a while, after a certain point. They were just going to say you have to figure it out. So I did. I got good at it. I feel like I'm very good at figuring things out because I couldn't find anyone who would be willing to do it for me. I wanted to do it myself, or teach me how to do it if I wanted to do it myself. That has been my life experience with stuff like that. Personally. I certainly would argue I was not sheltered by choice. Or not fully. I could attest that. Part of my sheltering came from the reclusion of finding people really unpleasant. Let's be honest. So it's hard to want to reach out to people when people have already made it clear that they don't want you around and you don't want them around. I feel like I talk about this kind of thing a lot when I'm drawing. I think there's a lot of association with it. I got a lot of shit, actually, for trying to do art when I was a kid. Like, I was not the cool art kid. I was, if anything, the art kid that got picked on the most for trying to be an art kid. Like, I got picked on a lot just because I liked to draw. So, if you're out there and you enjoy drawing, you are absolutely in your right to enjoy whatever the hell you want to draw. Absolutely. Never let anyone tell you what your art should be. Never let anyone do that to you. I do one more frame there. We'll see. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna do one more frame, I think. That's really good. Holy shit. Holy fuck. That looks really funny. Here. What sucks is I can't quite get it. I want to get it the framing that it's actually going to be. Like close. And yeah, that's about as close as it's gonna be. So like it's gonna come on screen like this. Like, well, not like that. That artifact isn't gonna be there. But it's gonna come on screen like this, and it's gonna take up about that last third. Or not that third, the fifth, I guess. Sixth? I don't know. That sixth of the screen. should pop up somewhere around the bottom left corner, right across from me. It looks good. I'm really satisfied with that right now. Holy shit, that's like perfect. Really good. It's really, really good. Turn is perfect. Oh, okay. I'm getting. I didn't think that was gonna work. And you get surprises like this, like the collar. I don't know how I made that work the way that it works. I don't know why it looks correct. To me, it feels like that was so much motion that shouldn't have worked, but it does. It did the twist. It's weird, but you know what? It works. If it works, it fucking works. You just gotta do what works. I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna do one more frame, I think. So we're actually going to extend this to like around here-ish. You know. Yeah. Like there. To give it space. Hi, Silos. I'm looking at you. She's looking at you. She's like, oh god, he's here. Thank god he's here. Wow, thank you. Shit. it's, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. That's perfect. That's This is one of my favorite animations I've ever done. I'm gonna do one more frame. Yeah, I'm gonna do one more frame of the hair settling, then it'll be good. There. There we go. You missed it. I was talking about potential crises. Favorite things to talk about. No crises. I can't help it. You should know. You should know by now. It's just talking about how essentially people don't read the real moral of the story. Never read the comments. Just don't read the comments. Don't. Till I start getting at least a minority of people that I could start being like, I appreciate the people in the comments who do this. I just gotta ignore the comments. Always ignore the comments. Always ignore the comments, and you're always wrong on the internet. You're always wrong. The fact. But hey, that's why I do what I do. Try this. But I need engagement. Yeah. I don't want to talk to people who are just going to do nothing but frustrate me. This is where it's like an awkward period. I mean, like, I'm already getting a little screw fucked anyways, but I'm here to remind everyone that Hydrate Man is here. God, I might have to do a full Hydrate Man animation. That's gonna suck. The day I have to do a full Hydrate Man animation, that's gonna be rough. But see you there. Uh-huh. No! Well, he's not that kind of guy, though. He's not. That's not his characterization. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. What? Up. Man, it is so nice outside right now. It's so nice outside. Hey, I drank my water. I drank my water. It's windy here. It was windy here a couple days ago, but it's finally calmed down a little bit. God, we went outside though. There was a tree limb on the ground, and I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Oh, I got you. Drink you water. I mean, I do want him to say hydrate in Tunic script. I know how I would write it too. It'd be high. Ray are great. You like that? That's hydrate. That's hydrate. That's hydrate. Man, I'm starting to get. You can tell I'm starting to get a at least a little bit fluent if I could do that. I'm pretty confident that that was hydrate. God, what a good game. I've really enjoyed Tunic. I'm glad that it's weirdly been well received. It's like maybe one of my best received series in a long time, and I'm glad about that. It was a really good game. I really enjoyed playing it. It's got a little bit left though, so we're probably gonna finish it here in a week or two. And there's so many things. God, I don't even remember what we were discussing next. I've been wanting to do Hollow Knight, but I think we're gonna be doing something else instead soon. And then hopefully, I'm in a better mood. Man, I think I'm just worn out on Elden Ring. Let's be honest. I'm worn out on Elden Ring. I really, really love Monster Hunter, though. I like thought about it, and I think one of the great debates that you hear about a lot of people who seem to be burned out about Dark Souls is that we've all kind of collectively came to a consensus that yes, they are making these games to try to continue to strain their player base. However, there is an answer that actually Monster Hunter gives to a long-standing player base, and that's instead of doing what FromSoft wants to do with Elden Ring, where they want to keep the challenge as much as possible, Monster Hunter says, we've already made a challenging game. They do need to do, well, they try, put it that way, they try. Sometimes they do it right. Sometimes they do it wrong. Though I will actually say, I'm going to be a bit of a devil's advocate here. Though it is not ideal, and it does still have problems. But I have not had just problems, so it's clear you're not a problem. I do think it is an improvement from World. And the reason why is because the actual downtime, you can go do something else while you wait for your friend to do cutscenes and stuff. You're not just sitting around waiting for people. You could argue you could do that in World too, but the nice thing about Wilds is that it's much more flexible, and you can go out and do stuff, and like you can go and find resources, you can go do a quest or two, and you can do that naturally. You don't have to set up a quest or anything. You can just, and you can cancel it a lot easier, and you can rejoin your friend, and you're given a notification when your friend is ready. You're given a notification as soon as they're ready, instead of having to wait and wait and wait and wait until the game finally says, okay, you can join, without any notification. That was something that World used to do, is it wouldn't tell you when your friend was ready. You just had to keep on spamming it until finally it popped up, or they said, yeah, I'm done now. At least now it lets you know when you're ready to join, when your friend is ready for you to join, and they don't have to do anything, and it's immediate, and you can just do something else. But in the meantime, you can go to your traders, you can check out armor, you can do stuff like that. There's a lot of things that you can engage with while you're waiting for somebody else to start doing quests if they're catching up. The problem is if you're doing it at the same time. That's still broken. That I'm lucky, I've dodged the bullet. It is, weirdly enough, it is a good thing that I'm a little bit behind, because it'll mean that it's easier for everybody else to just let me catch up. That's actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing. And overall, that the experience of Monster Hunter as a story told is easier to experience as a single-player experience. Whether or not that is a good thing, because Monster Hunter is designed to be a multiplayer game, it always has been, it always will be, is its own debate. But I do think it is improved significantly from previous games. Though, I will admit, and I praise Rise for this, and I'm really frustrated that somehow they couldn't find a solution, because I love you, Capcom, but sometimes you do this thing where when you can't find a solution, you just go, there was no solution. You go, that's not how you solve a problem, Capcom. Where they ran into the same thing where they really wanted to tell a story and have these great cutscenes, and they are great. Dude, the fucking cooking cutscenes? Jesus Christ, man. Like, they're good. They're really good. However, their solution to that situation is essentially to say, we didn't have a solution, which is not how you solve a problem. Even a little bit. Perfect. Perfect. Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, that secondary motion on the hair came through really good on that head turn. Put a little smile. She's not happy to be here. At least she doesn't want to show it. Don't worry, maybe I'll add one later. Have ideas. I promise. Promise. Picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. I want to keep this possible. I don't know if it actually matters, but she kind of looks like it though. Just want her to be unimpressed. Unimpressed and slightly annoyed that I put all this work in for this. This is what I worked for. It looks really good, actually. That looks really, really good. We are at 20 FPS at frame 90. We're at what, 5 seconds? 5 or 6 seconds? I can do math. We're almost at 5 seconds. We're almost at 5 seconds. We're at least 4 seconds. Yeah, 4 seconds would be 90s. We're almost at 4 seconds. That head turn came out really good. That head turn came out really good. Honestly. Holy shit. It's really funny. That head turn came out really good. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that came out. Because that came out like perfectly. That's maybe my favorite animation in the whole damn thing now, is her turning her head. It looks really good. I am having one of those moments where I'm just like, man, I wish I would have done so much better at the first part where she's walking in, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna have to go back and fix it. That's the fact of the matter, is like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Tweening can be difficult sometimes. Tweening can be really, really hard. So I do find that I think I do a little bit better tweening when I'm able to just go straight ahead. I think. Between keyframes. Like, I just... Being able to time keyframes is the thing that I struggle with the most, probably. Looks really good. Actually looks really good. Really funny. Steve, want to be here now, right? Right. Now, Jet! No! I don't want to open anything. If anything, I need to save. Oh boy, this is gonna be a nightmare. I'm probably gonna do simple because I don't want to really have to work that hard to do this. Oh, I see. That's very awkward. Like that. Ish, maybe? Like that? Like that, maybe? That again. Eesh! Why'd you do that? Stop that. Stop it. Oh, stop it. That does that. That does. There we go. I was trying to find a way to do that. Interesting. How I want to preserve certain parts. This is an. I have to remember this is a reference. And that ultimately, I need to keep the parts that have been drawn at this point the same. Because it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Do want it to do something like that, though. So I have Rise up a little. I like that. And that about the same. Again, this is a reference. I need to keep the parts that I want to keep the same, the same. Really? Her hands. This is what I should be working on a little bit. It's her shrug. Because this is the most difference. At 4 o'clock, I'm making good progress, actually. Probably call it around 5-ish. Still got around an hour. Let's see. Like this would be moving up based on everything. Something like that. This is why I got to do more sketches like this. I have to do more sketches of my keyframes like this, so that way I can get the keyframes drawn out the way I want them to. Just want her to be pouty. I just want her to be pouty. We'll see. I might give her maybe. I just want her to be disappointed in how much work I put into this. That's all. I just want her to show visible disappointment. Isn't that so much to ask? I have caps on. Something like that, maybe? See, for me, this is one of the hardest parts, since there's a lot of movement. There's just a lot of movement that I have to consider. And what I might do is have it hang a little bit that way, so that it's settled. That it resettles when she pulls her arms up. What I'm impressed with is proportion-wise, though, I kept this, like, perfectly. This is something I've gotten much, much better at, is keeping those proportions the same. Okay. Okay. Just heard a noise and I was like, was that Leon? Boy, what's wrong? I mean, we didn't go. I told him I was like, we're gonna go outside, don't worry. And then I was like, we didn't go outside as long as he wanted, but I had to deal with something. In fact, after this, I need to go check my car. Guys, my car tire went flat for some reason. I don't know why, but I was able to refill it. So hopefully it's fine now, but eh, hope it's fine. Really worried about it. But maybe? Again, trying to do better about not leaving those artifacts in. Gotta get them when I see them. Not adding artifacts that aren't even there. That's another thing that helps. There we go. Two. That, I'm not missing anything. Question is how do I want to get the arms up? I don't quite know yet. I haven't thought that far ahead. I haven't thought that far ahead. I don't even know how I want to get the arms up there. The nice thing is the framing of this animation means I can just kind of have them appear. I don't have to I don't have to do that much craziness. God, that looks so good. That looks really good. What's funny is if I take this, is that 91? I don't know. The problem is that I don't know how many frames it's going to be, so we're just going to estimate. Right? Oh, nice. Okay, so that's how that works. That's what I was wanting it to do. So this is going to be a tough part. This is going to be really, really hard to do. Because let's think. Your arms at side. The shoulders are going up first. The shoulders are going up first. Shoulders are going up first, and when you cross over, your shoulders go up and your elbows go out, and then go in. Boy, this is gonna be a hard one. This is gonna be some frames of animation. This is gonna be some frames of animation in this one. Don't rush it. This is the trouble of tweening something that is largely going to stay the same. And it's like, what's funny is recently it's like, yeah, I should be copying and pasting more. And I'm like, but I tried that and it didn't look right. I've tried copying and pasting and editing that way so many times, and it just does not work right for me. Don't know why. Not with animation, anyways. Sir Bacchus. Sir Bacchus is back? Oh. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Bacchus. I'm going to be in animation hell here in a second, I think. Gave your dog some eardrops and made some green tea. Oh, nice. Green tea. You like me some nice green tea. Hearing suspicious noises behind me. I hope no one's getting into trouble. Probably fine. My music. My music. I'm still listening. I'm still listening. I feel like actually for getting back into it and for 2 hours, this is pretty good progress. This is pretty good progress. I'll probably make pretty good progress on the arms, but I don't think I'm gonna get this frame done today. I don't think I'm gonna get this action done today, but I'll get pretty far in. Then once I do all this, I'll have to go to my drawing board and figure out exactly how I want to do the next part, which will be its own fun thing. This is going to be a very gradual movement, so to draw the same thing 800 times. Favorite part of animation is drawing the same thing over and over again. I mean, it is what's made me much, much more confident and much faster. This is why I would say if you are having a hard time with illustration and it takes you a long time, if it takes you a long time to draw something, this is gonna sound crazy. Practice simple animations. Practice simple animations. Make yourself draw the same thing over and over again. It will help you. And trace over it. Trace over the goddamn thing. It'll make it easier. That's no good. Is he just scratching his ear a lot? I know that happens sometimes. Pet gets an ear thing, then you're like, stop it, buddy. Don't make us pull out the cone. And he's like, I can't. It hurt my ear. Hope Pupper get better. I hope Pupper get better. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of gradual movement. In fact, that might have been too much movement. I don't know what I just did, but it doesn't seem to have fucked with anything, so I will take it. I hit a shortcut to something. I don't know what I hit a shortcut to, but I hit a shortcut to something. Accident. Oops. Probably do. We're actually going there. I need a tween. Need a tween here. I feel like it's too much motion. This is gonna be a lot of tweens. I feel like this is gonna be a lot of tweens. A lot. It's a pretty significant move. It's not something simple. And this is something that I'm trying to get better at myself at reading is like, okay, where do I need to do a tween? Do it right then and there. I like doing straight ahead more. I feel like straight ahead is where my brain works best. For example, we just did straight ahead and it worked really, really well. And it looked really, really smooth. And I have to think about how much motion happened in any given moment. Right now, it should not be that much. Ah, crud. Ah, crud. First off, there. Do that. I forgot that. Oops. But yeah, if you feel like you're not consistent, animation has made me so much more consistent and faster at drawing. To a certain extent, you just learn eventually that you can't waste your time revisiting something a bunch. You have to just make the line. You can't get to that point if you don't utilize the advantage that animation gives you in which you always have a reference. You always have a reference. You're always working off that reference, and your reference is not freehand. An animation reference, the best animation references are drawn over, not drawn aside. Welcome to Rat Boogie. Welcome to Rat. There we go. Oops. I'm finding that that control is a shortcut for something I don't want to happen that often. Like this boogie. Like this rat boogie. There's also a certain amount of animation illustration that teaches you that you don't just get to the good parts. You have there's a lot of mundane. There's a lot of mundane to work through. That can be a good thing. I don't know. Hand-drawn animation, frame by frame hand-drawn animation has improved a lot of my work. Both my still life. Oh, she's missing her nose. Don't need that. Has improved a lot of my still life in such a way that wouldn't have improved if I hadn't been doing it this way. I just need to stair step it. I just need to stair step it. One stair step at a time. Much as I want to just tween it, I can't. There's a couple. I could just tween it and then do a tween in between and see how that goes too. Since this is so much motion, this is so much motion that I need to get the shoulders up there anyways. I could do a tween and then do a tween of that tween and see how it looks. Because again, I don't think this is a fairly long motion. But it's a lot of motion. It is a lot of motion. The hair doesn't really start moving until it's closer anyways. Sir? What? 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 Satan, Niggy. I like that he responds to Satan, Niggy. Good weirdo. Love you, you weirdo. I love you, you weirdo. Weird creature. God, this boogie. I've been trying to actually follow my YouTube recommends a little bit more and get us some just like fresh vibes. So hopefully every week I'm just gonna try to like find something, at least one or two new things to add to any given set list that we listen to, so that way it stays fresher. This is good. I'm liking this. The freshness is for me. You don't even think twice. And to be fair, just the VOD, if you're watching the VOD, you won't even be able to hear it. It'll disappear. That way, Poppy, YouTube, and Twitch don't get mad at me. I mean, that's kind of a nice advantage, and I feel like I found this, and I'm glad I'm utilizing it, and I actually don't know if many people do, that you probably can have at least a little bit more freedom with the music that you play. That said, if one day I get a cease and desist because I'm playing music live on stream, then fair enough. I will take responsibility of that. For now, though, I at least think I've found a good medium to be able to play more music without fear of having to get yelled at by somebody who owns the right to the music I'm sharing. Hopefully. You should look up Kevin McLeod. Dude makes a whole bunch of music and sounds, and all he wants is to be credited. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. If it fits the vibe. You know me, I don't take requests. However, if you build up rapport here, I will be more likely to actually check something out. That's some hot take, guys. If you're new to a community and the first thing you do is make recommendations, just gonna get ignored. I'm sorry. Not because of me. I mean that in any community, unless they make it clear that they're open to that. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get ignored. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Like, always get a vibe for any given place. Unfortunately, people are going to respond differently to different things. And for me, I don't I don't respond super well to recommendations because I always get the implication that the reason why it's being recommended is not because it's something that I can benefit from in the sense of like this would help you. It to me is viewed as a you're doing something wrong, here's what would fix what you're doing. When I don't do things the way that I do them intentionally all the time to do them incorrectly. Sometimes I do, but not always. But then again, that could be a me thing, so could also be a me problem. It's fair. Not perfect. Never have claimed to be. I'm not perfect, and I'm not a paragon. Uh-huh. Exactly. That's the problem, right? Is like people genuinely think that way, right? Like that's not the way I would do it. You're not doing it that way. Do it this way. It's like, well, eh, eh, I'm here to share, not to fulfill. I'm here to share, not fulfill. I think that's what it is. And sometimes I think people go to Twitch to be fulfilled, and it's like, I mean, I've been there. I mean, I was the other day, I had somebody join, or I joined someone, and I'll admit, I was like, my head really sucks right now, and then they engaged with that. And that's fair. I think if you're going to do something like that, you got to know how to engage with people, though. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. But it is a skill you have to train, and you gotta be tactful. You gotta be careful. I feel like I've definitely had my moments where I joined and I brought in a bummer because a bummer was on my mind and I wanted to engage. And I brought something up and I felt like super bad. And I felt like, maybe they didn't want to respond to that. Maybe they didn't respond to that because they didn't want to. And that's totally fair. You have to remember, someone doesn't respond to you because you said something. Fortunately, you probably just said something they didn't want to interface with. I've been faced with that. You do your best. Sometimes something gets brought up and you're like, but I try to always at least be like, the way that I act here is the way that I actually do act in other people's chats. Be like positively engaging as much as possible. Or if I'm struggling with something, to at least make it constructive. Like be like, yeah, this is something I'm dealing with right now. I just want to let you know, to be like, I'm just having it rough. But like, we don't got to talk about it if you don't want to, etc., etc. I'm just gonna bring it up because it's what's on my mind, and I just want to air it. Oftentimes, been able to make a positive thing out of that. So. Also, Kevin McLeod did that song. What? A song that just played? Well, if a song that just played that he did, then I will make sure to reference some of his work. Sorry. Oh. Oh. I've heard this one? I mean, I can't play it right now. I don't even... Oh, that one. Yeah, 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 yeah. That one's used all the time. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that one. Everyone knows that one. Ain't that just the way? I mean, that's how I am as an artist, honestly. It's just like I don't care if people share my stuff. In fact, share it. I want people to share myself stuff. I think most people who make things want people to share their stuff. It really sucks when people take credit for it. They don't share it with the intent of like also being like, and this is who does it. Crediting is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm definitely trying to get better at it. I'm also responsible for that. Like, I'm responsible for properly crediting people. No buts. I've done a bad job of it and I want to get better at it. No buts. Like, credit people for stuff that they do. It's fine to share other people's work, but you have to remember someone else did it. You should still make it clear that somebody else did it. No buts. Me included. I'm not exempt from that. Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. Like, artists understand that people are just gonna repost your shit. I'm just gonna do that. Hello. Yes. Why are you yelling? Sucking his brains out. What? What? Yeah? Yeah? What do you want? Butt sniffer? What do you want? Yeah? Oh, I love you too. I love you too. Leon is here. Ah, you're good. See, kind of fair point. Also, sometimes, regardless of how many people are here and available, though, it is it's common knowledge, I would say, to be like 9 times out of 10, you want to be engaging with people as much as possible. That's yes, obviously. That said, that's not always an easy yes or no situation of doing things because sometimes people come in, they say and do things you might not be comfortable with. They say or do things that you're just not in the fucking mindset to interact with. I think people still should be allowed to say when they're comfortable and when they're in the mood, in the mind space to be able to interface with different things because not everybody can interface with everything. Sometimes people join, and for better or for worse, you just going through it. I've been there. I've been there. I've gone to other people's chats and I've been there. You're just fucking going through it. It's okay to still be like, I'm going through it. That's totally fair and reasonable. Just remember, someone doesn't interface with it, then you go, oh well. Also remember that. Been there. I've been there. I've done it. I think everybody's done it. We live in an era where you can talk and engage with people who are actively doing things. Who sometimes those people are super skilled, super not skilled, super anything. We live in a world where you can do that. That's okay. But social interaction still dictates that everyone's going to approach it differently. Always be mindful of that. I try to be mindful of that. And I always say that the golden thumb is no bummers. Bummers are hard to deal with. Bummers are hard to interface with for anyone, especially if you don't know the person. Because we don't know what someone's going through. If you're wondering, well, you talked about a bummer earlier. The people who are familiar with my chat used to that, and it is an element of something I discuss a lot. It is. And I try to make it at least constructive, try to make jokes out of it when I can, and otherwise do try to avoid the bummers as much as I can. Sometimes they're perceptively unavoidable. I'm going to say it that way because, in all honesty, I should always be erring on the side of trying not to bring up bummers. Because bummers are bummers. Always bummers. Bummer? I hardly know her. Exactly. But like, this stuff happens. Everybody's processing things, and to a better or worse extent, every now and then I process things here. Just do. Have to process them somehow. And I'd rather do it understanding that, okay, I need to process it healthily. I can't just let it stew in my brain, and I also just can't vent it out to everyone, obviously. Like, that's equally not good. Nobody likes that. But I think it is better for me to go the Bob Ross route a little bit and try to make it clear that it's like something's on my mind. I'm gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna try to talk about it constructively, openly, not invasively, not objectionably. We're just gonna be like, this is what's on my mind. I need to process it. Bet. I'm not right for it. I'm not wrong for it. It's just something that's in my goddamn brain. And I need to put it out in some way, shape, or form. Because if it stays in there, it'll break my brain. And I think a lot of people feel that way. That's why I think it's totally reasonable to be like, you go to somebody's channel, you bring up something that's on your mind, and unfortunately what's on your mind is something frustrating, sad, annoying, whatever. Because you want to be able to be like, I'm not crazy, right? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy that the other day I tried to work and my brain hurt so bad I wanted to puke. I need to tell somebody that. So that way I'm not crazy. Otherwise, I just had an experience that I have to go, well, that happened. And no, that's not how I work. That's not how my brain works. And that's not really how anyone's brains work. You don't just go, oh, well, I just had something happen to me. Like, no, it's actually good to discuss when things like that happen. You just always have to remember that you're still talking to somebody else. So my usual way of like handling that, the way that I did then, is just to be like, you know, try to at least make it amusing. Try to make it like something to be like, I'm fine now. Maybe like that's the thing that helps. That's what helps me, is like to be like, I'm fine now, like, or better now, like I was yesterday. Like, it's not a problem anymore, but boy, did I have an experience. You know? Sometimes you just do. Sometimes you just have a fucking experience, man. Man, this is a tough animation. This one's gonna be a challenge, and I can tell. I think if I could pull it off, it'll look really good, though. The goal is I need to make something that works. I just need to ensure that whatever it does, it works. No matter what. Do it. Do what works. Do what works. Also, I don't know if this is animate or if this is a skill issue. The opposite. What's the opposite of skill issue? This is a skillful. But I do feel like a balance issue. Am I having balance issues now? Am I overbalanced? I don't know if this is animate making up for me or if I've just genuinely developed better skill at this. I've noticed a lot of my like flickering actually has gone down, like especially if something's holding still. That was something I really struggled with, is like putting motion where motion doesn't need to be. And I feel like I've improved on that, like a lot. A lot. And that the motions that are happening actually matter. That's something I feel like I've gotten much better at. I didn't mean to do that. Wait, go away. Happy Women's Day. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't have gotten that consistency if I hadn't been practicing animation. Yeah, animation will get you consistent at something. It really will. You just have to practice it. Because you're just drawing the same thing. You're just drawing the same thing slightly different. And you're doing it in such a way that you aren't just freehanding it. You are drawing over it. And I hate to say this, like, and this is something that I've run into that gave me a little bit of drawing paralysis, drawing um imposter syndrome, because one of the things that we did a lot when I was in college, when I was practicing illustration, getting more into it, taking classes on illustration, is you utilize other people's work. We were drawing a lot of other people's work to both either try to learn how they did it, to illustrate, and to try to like impart our own kind of skill upon something. And I did a lot of works like that I really enjoyed. I did Starry Night. I did um one particular drawing that I really enjoyed, and I wanted to share those things, but I always felt two things. If I didn't share it, the reason why was because I was embarrassed to be like, but that's not my work, that's somebody else's work. I might have learned something from it. It came out really good, but it's not my work. I didn't make that. And when I did share something, people would fucking point it out. Even if I gave credit, they'd be like, well, you didn't draw that. And I'd be like, yeah, but the original work doesn't look like this. It looks similar, but it looks different. The one that comes to mind, how many things live rent free. These are the memories that I make. Boy, ain't it great, guys? These are my memories that we're getting to hear about today. um, is somebody, of course, was like, I drew a Dilophosaurus skull, and then I utilized it off of a reference of somebody else who did an illustration of a Dilophosaurus skull, but I like did texturing for it. I textured it. I wanted to share that because the texturing came out really good, and the original piece doesn't have that texturing. And of course, people's immediate response is, "You didn't draw that. You didn't draw that." It's like, yeah, no shit, I didn't draw that. I know didn't draw that. I literally drew the. I'm the one who did the piece. Of course, I know I didn't draw that. And it's like, that's been my experience with people wanting to share things. Is it's always never-ending stuff like that by people who, as far as I could tell, have never made anything ever. You have to start somewhere. Fan fiction is a starting point for writers for a reason. It saves you the time of having to create characters if you can start telling stories based on characters you didn't have to make. It's a good thing, because you have to start somewhere. You have to start developing those skills somehow. Is it high art? No. Not always. Not often. But can it be? Fuck yeah, I've seen some things that are pretty just genuinely just fan service after a certain point still be high art. Because the person who utilized it made something with it in their own vision. Something that comes off as fan art or fandom or fan stories. Like, you have to start somewhere. Everybody does. And how much of work is truly original? It isn't. It absolutely is not. And you should always be proud of your inspirations. You should share them openly when you say, I got this idea from this. Because no doubt they probably got the idea from someone else too. So I think the number one way to be able to call somebody out, or at least notice when somebody is just kind of being a negative Nancy when it comes to works of art, whatever, is, if they point out you didn't make something or something isn't yours. Nothing is no one's. No one owns anything. I don't own my work the moment someone else looks at it and goes, that's a good idea. Let things inspire you, people. Let things inspire you. Absolutely. Or else you'll never make anything. You would never... No one would make anything if we were all too afraid to make things because, well, I didn't get that idea without seeing something else. It's not how genetics work. In a certain way, there is mimetic information in everything. Everything. There are very few things that have ever truly just spawned from the ether. They have a mimetic history. Like genes. Everything does. Prime example, Sean was pointing this out in his kind of like analysis of Patlabor 2 that I really liked, that I agree with him, is we love Evangelion, and there is so much mimetic information. There's so much mimetics in Patlabor 2, or in Evangelion, that come directly from Patlabor 2. There are. In Patlabor and Patlabor 2. Ace Combat, one of my favorite series of all time, that has inspired me to make my own pieces of media based on what I liked out of it, has so much mimetic information from Patlabor. That piece of media would not exist if Patlabor didn't. So, there is nothing, and that's totally fine. I sometimes feel like people say that as like a negative thing, and I'm like, no. People have to get their ideas from somewhere. The best place to get your ideas from are things that have been made. And if you want to make something truly new, you still have to do the research to find a reference point and say, that's been done. You equally have to be able to look at something to say what you wouldn't do versus what you would do based on what someone else has done. And another thing that actually we kind of discussed recently because we got talking, because Jackson and Sean watched Made in Abyss 2, and I won't talk too much about it because we could talk about it later. But what I do want to discuss is something that they brought up because of a reference that they made, that Sean made, that I really liked, that kind of paints our interest in the things that we like, in what we like, is that we like media that on some level, maybe not necessarily for us, speaks to us as like a revelation, but would be a revelation to somebody else. In a certain sense, as he put it, we like media that is designed to hurt other people and not us. And the two examples of that were, one, the piece of media that I cannot say its name, and actually a roadside picnic, which I had not thought about, which is when we break down what we don't like about the main character, it's not even that the main character is not a character someone is supposed to be dislikable. The character is written to be likable, actually. Like, he's the protagonist, and he's not written negatively. He's written positively. He just doesn't resonate with Sean and I because Redrick is a big tough guy who likes to beat ass and chew bubblegum, and no one gonna tell him what's wrong. But he works as a writing device because, in a certain extent, people like that trope. People like that trope. They like a big, bad, mean man who don't give no damns and fuck. Like, people like that. So when you can take that person, that someone that Sean and I are just not gonna like because we like more charismatic, more flawed characters, and then at the very, like, near the end, trickle down to show, no, isn't that kind of person, actually. Even though it takes the whole book to get there. No, he's not that kind of person, actually. For somebody out there, that made them go, oh, I feel like I thought I was like Redrick. But I am like Redrick because I am a tiny baby, just like him. And I had a moment there where I was like, well, Sean, that's our problem, is we already know that we're tiny babies in the face of everything, so Redrick wasn't going to work for us anyways. But if it worked for someone, that's still a good thing, and I hadn't thought about that. Welcome back to my TED Talk about how maybe Roadside Picnic is one of my favorite books of all time, because if nothing else, I'll have something to talk about. Like, we might not necessarily like everything that's in it, but we can, that point is not something I've ever thought of implicitly. I like that it still is designed on some level to be a revelation for someone. It might not be a revelation for me, but it's a revelation for someone. And that kind of person isn't me. And that's okay. I've already had that revelation, or on some level have my own personal feelings on that kind of existence in the world. That somebody might need a character like Redrick to expose to them. It might be a little bit more superficial, but fair enough, that's the point. It took more of a superficial representation of Redrick for someone to realize that, oh, I'm a tiny small baby in the universe. No matter how much of a tough guy I want to be. You know what? Fair enough. I can appreciate that book hurt other people to make them realize something. I am a tiny baby. Whoa! Don't talk about my grip. Not live like this. You know that's supposed to be private. Private intel, my guy. This boogie is good. I'm thinking one more frame, because the thing is I need to up. Okay, so arms are at the side. You need to up a little bit. You need to up and then fold. So one more frame of up, I think. Maybe even a little bit higher than the current frame. This is this is the challenge. This is the hardest thing. What's funny is that turn came out so good, but the turn is not hard. It was 6 frames. It was 6 frames. This, however, is so much more. So honestly, the raise needs to be at least 6 frames, because I think it takes about as much time to turn, like that turn is going to take about the same amount of time that is going to be to raise the shoulders and fold arms. Like, Just to raise the shoulders is about that much time. It's about twice as much time because it's two actions, but they're two actions that are about the same amount as turning your head. You know, like it's not fast, but it's not slow. It's gradual. And this is just something that I've gotten better, I think, is my articulation, right? Like, I think my articulation of my animation has gotten a lot more understandable. Like, I know where the articulation points are because obviously the more you do something, the more you understand. So I can better articulate something because I have a better frame of reference of like, okay, this is the motion. This is how it moves. So I have to animation is not drawing, and that's been said so many times, but it's true. Animation is not drawing. Animation is making a shape that moves. When you make a shape that moves, you can't think about drawing. Because if you think about drawing, you're not animating. The reason why is because drawing requires making a single image correct. Animating is not about making a single drawing correct from the standpoint of detail. It is about making a shape consistent, or making a motion happen, and that the shapes that are used can be done in that way, shape, or form. It's so much less about trying to draw something from a aesthetic standpoint, and so much more about the aesthetics of, does the motion get translated correctly, right? Like, you're not drawing, I'm not sketching something out when I animate. When you animate, you really do not want to do that. You really want to be making that shape the way you want it, and then being able to make that shape malleable. So that way, if you need to change a part of it, you don't have to redraw it, or you have to redraw very little of it. That's a big thing that I'm realizing, that animation, 2D animation, still relies on that. It's easier with Blender, it's easier with 3D animation, because you essentially got an object that you are just manipulating to do something for you. When you're drawing animation, you are having to think of a drawing as something that you need to be able to manipulate, not something that you need to be able to draw. Right? Like, you're thinking about it of like, I need to be able to make the shapes move, change where they need to be, and I need to be able to make it that way. And that's not drawing necessarily. Drawing is something different. Drawing is what I did Wednesday. That's drawing. That's taking the image of something and then working into it until it looks the way I want to. That's drawing. Animation is about making a shape that you can manipulate. That's what animation is. That's what 2D animation is making a malleable object on a 2D plane. And it's not drawing. It's not drawing, actually. It can be influenced by drawing heavily. My drawing has influenced my 2D animation a lot. However, you still have to keep in mind that I am not drawing an image. I am not. I am making an object that needs to be able to be manipulated and changed easily. That's why Animation doesn't have details. That's why I get mad when people are like, look at the manga versus the anime. And it's like, you need to show the example. You can't just show the frame next to the reference. You need to show the point of reference that an animation was done and then show the animation and be like, this is what's different. Because obviously, if anything, manga is great for giving you, for providing keyframes. It is fantastic for providing keyframes. It still is just a keyframe in the reference of the anime. It's just a keyframe, and it needs to be treated that way and utilized that way. And if nothing else, and I hate that people do that, is fuck. That's a really good keyframe. That's what people should be saying, is like, wow, that's a really good keyframe, because it was given to you already. It is a pet peeve of mine, because it gets brought up a lot. But it also is oftentimes pointed out, like, obviously you cannot compare the two. They're two different mediums, ultimately. They can influence each other heavily. But again, a drawing is about putting the details in and drawing something out. Animation is about creating an object that is moving, that is moved. And to do that, fundamentally, is to not draw. Effectively, every frame of animation is a tool. It is a tool that you utilize that is there to translate an idea or translate emotion. And you should not look at an individual frame as something that is supposed to be drawn. It's not. And that's something that even I have had to, like, kind of grapple with and understand. Even when I understand it a little bit, it's something that's like, oh yeah, you can't do it that way. Something like that. Kind of show that the cuff is coming up. Again, a lot of this stuff is only going to be on screen as a single frame. Are you making something that is manipulative, that's manipulatable? Or are you making something that is as detailed as possible in a single frame? And I think that's why animation ultimately ends up, like, really clicking with me, is a lot of my illustration is simplified anyways. I don't put a lot of detail into a lot of my work. I just don't. I get caught up in it. I don't find that I end up doing more than, like, very simple lines, very solid lines. And that's my own influence, probably from my influence from growing up with various cartoons and whatever, from an art style perspective, but also just from a preference perspective. I prefer to do it that way. You know, it's not something that I do because, oh, I saw just animation do it. It's just something that I kind of took up and was like, this is just kind of like how I like to do it. I try to do more detailed stuff. I get burnt out, tired. I work a lot. I'm just like, ugh, this is so much. I want to do it easy. I don't want to sit too much on one piece. It's ironic because animation has the problem of, boy, you spend a lot of time on one piece, but at least I'm drawing something different every little bit. Like, I think that's what helps keep me motivated with it as well. Is a lot of animation is, yeah, you're drawing the same thing over and over again, but also I'm drawing something slightly different, which keeps me engaged with it, a little bit less tedious. And getting to see it move is a really fun reward. It's like a really, really satisfying reward for me. Is getting to see the results of the animation actually like manifest into something is super, super nice. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Talking too much today, but that's a good thing. You're waiting for the rap song? What rap song? Am I working on a rap song now? Am I a hip hop boy now? Fuck. Didn't know. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I mean, like, obviously there's gonna be more, but that's, yeah. I'm gonna be. I get it. I get it. I'm wrapping it up. I understood the pun. Yeah, that. Like, obviously, I think the turn is more complete, but goddamn. I'm. I might cut out the part, or actually. Here. This might look better as a full piece. Okay. There we go. We're gonna try this. See if that looks better. It's just like a placeholder of like progress. Yeah, yeah. Because like that one frame at the very end looked very awkward. Oh yeah, I gotta fix that. I gotta do one more line. That's not intentional. But yeah, if you view every part of an animation as less of like a thing that you draw and more of like a bone that you make. You're making a bone, you're making a muscle, you're making an object that is manipulated. You're not drawing, you're making an object. And that object is silly putty, but it's still an object. It's not a drawing. It's not an illustration. It's a functional thing. That's what I think that separates true scope animation from illustration, right? Is like you're creating tools. You're creating tools. Every frame is filled with tools. Every shape is a tool. And when you think about it that way, you're not drawing a face, you're making a face. You're not drawing an arm, you're making an arm. And that arm has to be able to move, has to be able to articulate, it has to be able to function on axes of motion. And it's not drawing it, it's making it. Even if it's two-dimensional, it's still making it. It's making it as an object and placing it on a 2D plane. Because when you make a drawing, that's a very specific thing. An animation is, to some people, a series of drawings, but it is a series of objects. It is a series of objects that move. This is what it is for me, is how I have internalized how animation works. I think I think once I finish that, it might actually be like obviously it stops. Once I finish that, there's a little bit it needs a few more frames. I think I need to add some more tweens to that motion to make it a little bit smoother and lengthen it out a little bit more. Yeah, it's only 4 frames. It needs to be longer because this turn is perfectly timed. That's like the perfect amount of time. This shrugging motion needs to be at least that long alone before I even get my arms up. Because it's all moving together. On screen and off screen. It's moving together. So I have to make it clear that like the shrugging motion doesn't really stop at any point. Like it's got a circular motion, but like when the arms come up, it's still moving. The shoulders are going to be still moving. The shoulders are never holding still until they nestle at the end. So it's going to be a lot of constant movement. Oh, I have to add. Did I add that lower lip? Yeah, I did. Turn is so good. Oh my god, her rotating her head is so good. It's perfect. It came out so well. That's just really good. Really, really good. Holy shit. It makes me smile. It's really good. Alright, I'm gonna open up Bing Create, we're gonna make an image, and then we're gonna rate out, and then I'll be back later with my friends. So if you want to participate, at the end of every stream, we make an image together. All you gotta do is type in chat, whatever chat says, I'll use as reference for the image generator, and I'll share it before we rate out. So, accomplishing the perfect turn into the most judgmental stare. Because animation is a series of objects, not drawings. Ah! No! I want. Oh, nope, nope. Hold on. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Okay. Creating the perfect turn into the most judgmental stare. Because animation is a series of objects, not drawings. I hit the wrong button. I hit surprise me on accident, and it deleted everything. And I was like, no, 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 no. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Alright, so stick around to the very end. I also do a bit of a closing bit. We do raid at the end of every stream, so that way the daywalkers in our chat can keep watching. Just everybody else out there, make sure to lock your doors and windows, because it's almost dinner time for daywalkers. And thank you for joining, everybody. Hope you had a good time and you enjoyed the show. If you're able to join the live show, thank you for stopping by and chatting and watching. If you're watching this in the future, thank you for taking the time to go back and rewatching the VOD. We appreciate it. If you're out there and you enjoyed this and you want to see more of what we're up to, I recommend scrolling down below and following, or clicking any of the links. There's a link to an Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Bluesky, Discord, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Bluesky, and Discord. Honestly, I might axe that part. I might just say, scroll down below, click any of the links. There's links to all of the socials that I post to, as well as a Discord. Speaking of which, a shout out to our community on the Discord and everyone who follows. You guys are a wonderful audience. We appreciate you. If we do anything particularly entertaining or noteworthy, feel free to clip it and share it on the internet. Just make sure to also hashtag with MCCanary or link it back to the stream so people can find more of the good stuff we do here. And if you want to see the stream grow, you gotta let people know. I appreciate that people have been talking about the stream, and I encourage you guys to do it more. It does mean a lot to me that you guys have been talking about the stream and that we're doing things that you guys are willing to talk about. I appreciate it. And it's just really cool that you're willing to do that. So go tell people about the stream. Go tell your friends about the stream. I won't. And a huge thank you to MoTrimp and all of our supporters on Patreon and Twitch. Your generosity allows us to continue to expand this stream, as well as take on more projects, and the stream would not be made possible without viewers like you. So we thank you. If you want to see your name added to this list, as well as a couple of the benefits you could get, you could always subscribe directly on Twitch or check out the Patreon page here. It'll show you everything that you can get, and any amount is always appreciated. Once again, thank you. And thank you to Amon to do a wonderful job of holding back the robot army and preventing them becoming famous. Thank you for just coming and hanging out, everybody. I had a good time. I'll get you through housekeeping and get you on your way. Check out the rest of my friends in Goblin Entertainment here. It's a link tree that has links to everyone's channels and everything that they've done and they've been up to, and my own stuff here, which has everything that I post to. You should go check everybody out. Goblin Entertainment. Alright, let's go say hi to Dot. We'll go say hi to Dot. She's playing more schmips. She's playing some schmips. She's a good gal. What? Why are you giving me ellipses? That Dot. Ah. So, go say hi to her. Otherwise, have a good afternoon. Have a good evening. Take it easy. I'll be back. We'll be back in a bit. And remember, you just... animation easy. Animation is easy every single time. You do it, and it looks like this. Ah, I hit the wrong button. No! Okay. Ah, jeez. Ah, beans. Oh, you know who we're gonna raid to now. Oh, I didn't start the raid. I thought I did. Never mind. Oh, it doesn't matter. Uh-huh. I like it. It's a nightmare. It's a bit of a nightmare. I mean... This was me. All of these were me. Huh. I don't like that face. I don't like how many fingers are on this one. I don't like who that is.